This podcast is the result of my passion for languages and for talking to people. I have conversations with language professionals who are willing to share their experience. We focus on their work, but also on how their love for languages has shaped their personal lives. I'm Rita Prazeres Gonçalves, and I provide language services such as translation, localization, voiceover, and others in English and in Portuguese. I am also a language mentor for Portuguese speakers who are learning English and English speakers who are learning Portuguese. I am the language worker. Get in touch if you would like to know more about how I can help you with your projects. My email is rita@thelanguageworker.com. Hi, everybody. I'm delighted today because my guest today, I think we have a lot in common. At least that's what I think from looking at her profile available on LinkedIn. So this is Marta. I didn't even ask her to pronounce her last name because I always do it live, as you know. So she is Brazilian. We're going to speak in English. So this is a new trend that we started with Diego Perez some time ago. And we're doing it again with Marta. She's Brazilian. She lives in Portugal, and somehow we've never met before, which is really strange for the both of us because we seem to have been having some sort of a parallel life somehow, and some of our references are the same. So that's really funny, but I thought I wouldn't spoil it too much and would make it a surprise for myself as I enjoy it, and I hope you do too. So this is Marta. This is all I know. This is Marta. So can you pronounce your last name for us to understand what it is and where it comes from? Because it doesn't, is it German? Where does it come from?
Not. Here's your first surprise. So my full name is Marta Boer Silva, very Brazilian. But my mother middle name is Boer.
Mm-hmm.
So in English they say Boer. Depends. And it's Italian, actually.
Oh.
But I had, it was a very good icebreaker in some conversations because the Dutch people come to me and speak in Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
Or German people come to me speaking German.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't speak any of those languages. So no, I had emails written Dutch to me before. So it's Italian origin, and that's how I remained in Ireland, and then now in Portugal with my Italian nationality as well.
That is nice. So I was thinking that you really have a really close relationship with English because I guess it came to your life before any of this translation and all of that, because I saw that you started studying really early, even before your BA, right?
Yeah. So English was the only thing that really I was obsessed about when I was a kid. I wanted to learn it. My father listened to the Beatles day in, day out. I had a dictionary and the lyrics of Beatles with me, like a bilingual dictionary when I was 10, 11. So then I went on studying English outside school because English school in Brazil is not the best. So I was awarded this course, like English as a second language, twice a week. And I loved it. I was it was the one thing that I was always looking forward to, always on time, did all the homework. The teachers loved me, and I loved the language and the English and the teachers. And the institute I went to was very well recognized in Brazil. It's called Cultura Inglesa. I was there for 4 years when, and it was quite expensive. Like I went to public school and we were not rich or anything like that. But my parents made an effort for me to go there. And then when I was 15, I think, my father lost his job. And I wanted to continue by all means necessary. And talked to my teacher and I talked to the principal in that unit that I was going to. And I think I was one of the first students to be awarded a scholarship because I made a request. I had to write, by hand, a letter explaining the situation. So they gave me a scholarship. I think it lasted for about 3 years. Wow. I was really, really lucky. Really, I was really grateful. So I studied English in this manner for 7 years, say. And then I went on, I found a job in translation.
Yeah, so you did your internship before your degree, is that right?
Yeah, kind of. If you know many Brazilians, you know that we don't do things in the right order.
I know.
Most of the time, we are studying and working full time and studying full time in the evenings. And that's what happened to me as well. When I was in high school, I had to start going to work. I started as an accountant office, and that I knew that I wouldn't follow that path for sure, but I was an admin for a while. I was 16, I think. And then when I was 18, my teacher in this institute introduced me to a person that was the DTP person of a family-run business, translation business. And then and that was my internship. I was 18, and I started seeing everything for the first time, email, like 1997, I think it was.
That's when email started, I guess.
Yeah.
I have that impression.
Oh, 1994, yes. So it was the first time that I saw email, that I saw everything, computers. There was a Mac and there was a PC, everything was very new. And I was attracted to technology as well. So that was my first school in translation. And then when it came time for me to start college, I just thought I would do something that would combine well with what I was doing. So I didn't put a lot of pressure, like to study law or something that was very difficult because I had to work, all day long and study in the evenings. So that's my strategy at the time, was to just combine the things, and it worked well. It worked well.
So then you went to college and you enjoyed it and you worked throughout the whole time. And then what happened when you finished?
I went to college for 3 years and a half, and then I got a job offer in Ireland.
Oh, you went that early.
Yeah. So I worked in this first translation company for 3 years. Then I went on to a bigger company that already did project management. So I was a project manager at 21.
Ooh.
I didn't know better, right? Yes, I'll be a project manager. And all this localization thing was all started. That company was bought by Berlitz. And I worked there for 3 years. And then some of my colleagues were starting to go to Ireland. Microsoft was in Ireland. There were many companies there, and then LSPs also were born there. And somebody referred me to a job inside a company called Lexmark. They used to do
the printers.
Still exist. Yeah, they did printers. They had a call center for 250 languages, I think, and a small translation group for the 4 main European languages: FIGS, French, Italian, German, and Spanish. And this person wanted to do a trial with another language, so they chose Brazilian Portuguese because of the market. But it was a 1-year contract. So I went to Ireland in October 2000 to stay for a year. 19 years later,
right?
To Portugal.
So a lot of adventures in Ireland, I suppose. Where were you? Were you around Cork, where everything happens?
No. I remained in Dublin for most of the time I was living there. I worked in this company, Lexmark, for a year. Then I didn't want to go back home. There was plenty of jobs there at the time, so I think I found a job. My husband was building his first business there as well, as a coffee shop. I worked 3 months in the coffee shop and I said, I'm done. So
that's a whole other business, right?
There was a company called Textrans. I'm very grateful to them as well. They still exist, and they are Brazilian. They used to be Brazilian.
Yes, I know about them. I work with Robert sometimes, and he works with them.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yes. So Cloudo gave me an opportunity, and I was doing review, translation, everything for Brazilian in the office with them for a few years as well, a couple of years at least. And then after that, I became a freelancer for some time, but I was never completely fulfilled. So that I kept looking for jobs, and I did 6 months in a company called Eurotex, 6 months in Lionbridge, and then I went back to being a freelancer, and so on and so forth. That was until 2011. I got a very nice project in 2011. This company called Keyword Studios, they brought a team of people to Seattle for a month to test a game inside the studio, like very secretive.
Yes.
So yeah.
I know how it goes.
They put a team of, I think it was 11 or 12 languages, accommodations, flights, everything paid for, and a per diem and your hour. And it was just a very nice opportunity. And then when I came back from that one, and then that year in 2011, a friend invited me to join her in her venture, which is called Chinstar. Chinstar was the longest time I stayed in the company. It was close to 12 years. Yeah.
So does that have anything to do with translation or?
Yes. Well, Chinstar was a LQA company, like a third-party LQA. That was what we started doing. So the two of us, well, she's the owner, and she invited me to just join along, and I was her first kind of hire. The two of us started as project managers. So we still had our clients, we're still doing our reviews, or everything that we were still doing at the time. And then one of her clients that she was doing a maternity cover for asked her to stay on, and she decided to do it, but outsourced. And she needed a team for that. So the two of us started providing LQA services, and we put a team of freelancers together. So that was the first big thing that we did, I think 22 or 25 languages, and started doing this third-party LQA, building the plane in flight.
Wow.
We had a very generous client that kind of bought the idea and the way that we proposed to do this, because we were tired of the LQA cycle of these projects in localization. If you are familiar with Excel spreadsheets and reports and things like that. So the report part was very, it took too long. It took too long to resolve, and we proposed different ways of doing that. So one of the ways was to get the translator and the reviewer to talk together.
Yes.
So this was, and every time I say this, it's like, oh my God, yes, of course, why not? And yeah, but it's very labor intensive, and it's an expensive service for your clients, right? But we did it when we did it well, and I think my vendor manager side, like Florida,
came out in that moment.
Yes. My vendor manager came out in this company because I loved the whole people thing, apart from the HR bureaucratic bits. But I loved to train the new PMs that would join us, or to welcome new translators and so on. So in 10 years, almost in 10 to 12 years, we managed to grow the company from 2 people to 37 people internally. And then we had a database of 300 freelancers, or a bit more when I left, that worked for us on an ongoing basis. So the way it was organized, it was a PM would be dedicated to a client, and the team of reviewers was dedicated to that client as well.
Yes.
Then we convinced the client to convince the LSP to divulge the names of the translators. And in some cases, we even managed to have Slack groups only of the language people. So the reviewers and the translators talked together. The translators could ask questions during the translation. The reviewers could give feedback during the review. And all of this was documented throughout. So from this discussion, if there was style guide updates or things like that, then it would be feedback and implemented. And so our reviewers were kind of, some people call them language owners, language leads, things like that.
I'm one of those.
Yeah. So the language owners were responsible for keeping the style guide updated, the terminology updated, and to keep tabs on the quality for the client, for their language, with the support of the PM in Chinstar. And then we also had a quality manager. So we had a structure that would facilitate this, this way of working. But every time I tell the story, I say the same thing. It sounds like a dream come true, and it was very, it was a dreamy way of working, because you were in contact with your reviewers all day long. I created a workspace in Slack for our reviewers and for our PMs only, so they could separate themselves in the projects they work for. But the reviewers created this, community in this Slack channel. So in Slack, if you're familiar with it, there is a general channel that if you are in Slack, you are part of this general channel. And then you can start separating groups or channels according to whatever you need. So the general channel became like a community banter thing, or, we would do announcements there. And there is also a channel called Random for stuff that is not work related, but this channel would have like lots of memes and, so it really became like a small social network for our reviewers. And after I left Chili Store, that was the thing that I missed. One of the things that I missed the most. And
of course, it's the people. It always is.
I have to do my own now. So one of my side projects at the moment is in the works. It might be something to do with that.
Yeah, I understand. Now that I have been separated from people for quite a long time.
Oh, yes.
It's like, what am I going to do to go back to being with people?
Yeah. So I think
I podcast. That's what I do. One by one, but I get there.
Yeah. Well done. But I think this work is amazing. I couldn't do this work.
This is not work. This is fun.
Yeah. Okay. It is indeed. Yeah. Then what happened? I left Chinstar in April this year, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I took some.
So you were already in Portugal when you separated yourself from this project?
Yeah. I arrived in Portugal in January 2020, and it was a company that was remote first already. Like, we were pioneers in many things. And I could work from here, work from anywhere. So, I was still serving my clients and talking to our reviewers. In the pandemic, something very interesting happened. People started to feel lonely and alone, even if they had work online and all of those things. So I started organizing happy hour Zoom calls. And people would join and spend like an hour or two just, exchanging ideas and conversation and having a glass of wine in wherever it was time for a happy hour. People would I think the most successful one was 30 people.
Oh wow.
The time zone was actually a problem, but it was around 6 p.m. European time, so 30 people were there for a couple of hours just talking about, I don't know, tarot and whatever.
Don't get me started.
Language people together, anything can
I know.
And this is one of the things that fascinate me as well. I like to be close to the people that speak more than one language, have different experience in different cultures. That's what I like doing.
So then why Portugal? Don't tell me because everybody's coming, it's a trend, it's a thing, it's great
I didn't
here.
I didn't even know of the trend. But I have a niece that lives here for 12, 15 years. She lived with us in Dublin a couple of times. She's my husband's niece, actually. And she moved here, and her parents, which is my husband's sister and brother-in-law, they are retired. So they come here a couple of times a year, spend a few months. And every time they come, we would come visit as well. And then one day, talking to my brother-in-law, he said, "Why don't you guys try and come here for 3 months?" Same old story, right? Come for 3 months and then never leave. It didn't take too long for us to make that decision. I talked to him in November 2019 because we had already talked about this a few times, but never really thought about it. And then in November 2019, he said it more seriously, and I said, why not? And then in January 2020, we were here, like not even 3 months later, we were moving here on the ferry boat. 30 hours on the sea between Ireland and north of Spain.
That's very poetic, right?
Yeah, right. It's poetic when you look at the ferry boat ads and see, okay, there's cinema, there is a casino, and then you don't check if your one has that. So it was rookie mistakes all around. No casino, no. There was 2 slot machines in the reception that were not working. no cinema,
But
and
lots of casinos in Portugal, so right
yeah,
there near your house, so you don't
yeah,
have to worry about that.
I'm 10 minutes from studio.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so 30 hours on the ferry boat and rookie mistake, master rookie mistake. We didn't book a cabin because the seats look comfortable enough, like airplane seats.
Hmm.
And then we were 30 hours without having where to sleep.
Mm.
Apart from these chairs that looked like comfy, but were not really comfy.
They were, but not after 10 or 15 hours, I suppose.
Yeah. So, but we were laughing about it all the time, and there was no glamour at all in this ferry boat. Nothing against any nationality or whatever, but our fellow passengers were truck drivers from Eastern Europe, and big fellows with no glamour at all.
But you didn't come to Portugal for any work-related reason, right?
No, because I could. Well, one of the reasons I moved here, especially, is because I could work from here, could keep my job, and still work from here. And it made sense because Portugal is a bit better cost of life than in Ireland, and we had family here. The weather is good, and in my research about Portugal, I read an article saying, "Come for 300 days of sunshine," and
and it's true.
Yeah, it's true. And then I was like, let me check the thing for Ireland, and it was like 60 days of sunshine. So it's the exact.
Check it out, everybody. This is basically true because we're in the middle of October and there is 37 degrees where I am today. So
I know it's 27 here, and it's usually much cooler this time of year, right?
yes, it depends. But I mean, I've had a lot of Octobers that were really, really strong. I know because it's my birthday, so I always know if it was
right.
next week.
Happy birthday!
No.
Not
You
yet,
cannot
not
say
yet.
that. You cannot say that. Only next week. So next Monday, then
Okay.
we can talk about it again. But it's true. I mean, if it's for the sunshine, if you think that is a way of deciding your life, then go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So then
And
what's been happening ever since you decided not to work with the chili store, is it?
chili store, yeah.
Because
chili
I
store.
thought, when I read chili store, I thought of chili beans because they're a Brazilian
yeah.
sunglass brand, and I
Yes.
knew the owners in the Brazilian consulate in Los Angeles. So there was a big when they were implementing in Portugal and all of that. So I thought somehow it had some connection, but no.
Yeah. The chili store was I don't remember the origin story anymore, but it was something to do with it was supposed to be my friend had this name before even she had the company, but in our idea was like we would have many services or products that clients could pick and choose. So that's more or less the idea of a spice store, or a chili store.
Oh.
That's where it came from.
Wow.
For us. So that was very nice. So after I left Chili Store, I was wondering what I was going to do. And then I started networking that I had stopped because of pandemic, because of the last 2 years of Chili Store were very intensive as well. When travel was allowed again, I went to Chili Store a few times, to Ireland a few times, and it was quite intensive, but then in May, I went to my first Lock Lunch in Lisbon, Lock Lunch in Portugal. So I knew Lock Lunch from Ireland as well, and I participated online before. So in Lock Lunch, I was there for networking. So I met a lot of interesting people, including the founder of Lock Lunch.
Yes, I've just connected with him, and he's going to be on the podcast soon.
Yeah, yes, he would be brilliant. He's a brilliant character, big heart, a big mind. Like, I couldn't be more grateful to have encountered him in my life. So in the first Lock Lunch, I was there, and there were 25 people. I think it was a very successful one for Lisbon. And then the second Lock Lunch, we drove together and we talked more about our careers and what I was doing and so on, and we connected. And I'm working with them now as a vendor manager consultant to see if we can create this vibe of community for their translators as well. So this is one of the things that I'm doing, so consultant. And I have another client that I'm working as a recruiter, vendor manager, finding talent for copywriting. Not really copywriting, it's about more content writing for fashion and travel. So it's a thing that is coming on now very, very strong. Copywriting, content writing. I don't have a lot of experience in this, but in Chinstar we had some projects related. So I'm recruiting for them. So kind of vendor management, talent acquisition services. I promised a friend that I would try to remove the vendor part of the thing.
Yes, I know how it goes. People
like it a lot.
don't usually like it. Yes, it's true.
So I need to remember to bring the word talent into it. So looking for talent, language talent, or writers and things like that. And I'm also helping a company in Brazil. They are Brazilian, English into Brazilian only, doing the same thing, checking CVs. But because I'm Brazilian, I'm also applying tests for these translators. So usually things related to talent right now. And
so you don't do you haven't been doing language work for a long time, or do you still do some of that?
Not really, no. I was since I joined Chinstar, I started as a PM, then
you went into the dark side,
and then vendor manager, and then I haven't touched files for a long time.
That's what I thought.
But after I left Chinstar, I even considered doing that. So if I do that, I need a refresher, a very good refresher, because the language evolved so much. But it's not really my jam right now. Probably when I retire, probably do translations again for hobby or something.
Right.
But I love this. I love these things. I love the podcasts. I love mentoring translators, going to the Localization, the networking.
Yes, I need to go. I haven't been to one, but now, I mean...
Is there one close to you? Or you need to come down?
It's the same going to Lisbon or going to Porto, which is where you have them. It's 150 kilometers each side, so I'm in the middle, and I should decide very soon. A bunch of my friends, of course, go to one. Another group of friends goes to the other one. So probably going to Lisbon first. I'm going to go there this week, but I don't think there's any.
No, I don't think it's happening
around. But I have to go, which is a bit. And now after meeting Ian, it's even worse, right? Not going. But I guess there's going to be more Localization related situations on the podcast, because I had no idea that you had anything to do with that, which is really funny. I don't
really. I just love going.
Well, you don't, but you do, because I was talking to Gabriella on the podcast, and I was very surprised that she's the like 2 episodes.
She's the ambassador.
She's the ambassador in Algeria.
Spoilers, because you have to ask Ian about it, because it's an amazing project of his.
I know. So that's the idea. It's to talk about this a little bit more, because I'm very curious now. Yeah.
And it was funny because when I start going, I said to myself, I will go to as many as I can, and then I see that they have online as well. And then today or yesterday, my husband like, you don't have to go to all of them just because you know Ian. And I was like, no, I'm not. My idea started before I met Ian. I didn't even know Ian was going to be there in the first place. So because of the networking thing, and I go to some online ones as well. Yesterday I was on the Compostela one. It's just an amazing initiative, really, for people like me. At least.
Yeah, I have a Brazilian friend here, so it's probably the closest friend I have here in the translation world, and we have to attend one of those. We have to decide if we go up, if we go down, and then just join somehow. But that should be the way forward.
Yes. So what makes me tick are those things, and I mentioned to somebody the other day, I think it was Ian even, that I want to help all the language people.
You sound like Gabriella now.
What do they call it? Grandiose, or grandeur, whatever. Maniac, or I don't know the name now, but I will remember in a minute. But I want to help all the language people, meaning freelancers, translators, and the people that do the real work, right? And in this industry. So I started by I have a mentee in Brazil. I find interesting that people could do 4 years of college, 2 years of a master or something, and they still don't know how to get into the market. So I started mentoring this person so you could understand what happens in college, at least in Brazil, that you don't feel prepared or you don't know where to go when you finish. Where are the internship programs, all those things? At least where she's studying, there is nothing like this. And then I joined forces with a lady called Marina Faro. I don't know her whole surname right now from top of my head, but I love her. She is me in San Diego, but she was from the DTP side of things, localization. Yep. And we joined forces and we did a course called New to Localization. New to Law. So this is for people that don't know what localization is, but think that's something that they can do. Or people that finish college, like this person that I'm training in Brazil, that don't know how to get into the market, don't know if they want to be a freelancer or employed or an in-house translator. So we explain all of the basics and all the possibilities of a career in localization if you choose to be an employee or if you choose to be a freelancer. That was very exciting. We did.
Yeah, I love that stuff too. I understand.
Yeah. 3 hours, 2 hours every Saturday, like on a Saturday afternoon. Like it really shows like it was 8:30 in the morning in San Diego and 4:30 in the evening here. And we were so cheerful, teaching this course together. And I taught another course on vendor management only that I also had a blast doing. It was more intensive, 20 hours, 2 hours a day for 2 weeks. I had a kick out of it. Vendor management is strange because there is not a lot of theory. So you each company creates their own way of doing it.
Yes, true.
And I was trying to teach the way that we did in Chinstar, so which is even more different, right? It's very intensive, your connection with your vendors. The PMs also play a little part in being like a vendor manager in a way because the freelancers were dedicated to their projects, so they were kind of managing a team of freelancers, right?
Yeah.
With the support of the vendor managers in Chinstar, we created a role called vendor advocate, which was the ombudsman or something. It didn't last for very long because of the acquisition and everything. So, but the idea was that our freelancers knew they could contact this person for anything, and this person would guide them either through working out their issues, like if they had an issue in a PM with another translator, with another reviewer, a bit of human resources in a sense, but it was like for the human side of it,
for the personal side of the story.
And this advocate was removed from the production, so it would not affect, the role of this person was to smooth things out for the translator, for the reviewer, for the PM. So that was one of the ideas we had. So looking after your people, creating trust and all of those things. So I still carry that flag, and I want to wherever I go, work. Or
I'm the same. I understand what you mean.
Or if I have my own company, I don't know how soon.
Yeah, I'm planning on doing some sort of workshop and things like that also about vendor where vendor management is kind of the star. So it's
there is a lot of discussion if vendor manager is part of human resources or production, and I think we need a third space for it.
Yeah.
In a company, it's not so intensive human resources as if you have staff. And it's not 100% production because you're not managing projects or
exactly. Where I was, we didn't have that, so we weren't part of HR and we weren't part of production. We were we were part of what they called shared services. So we catered to everybody, but we didn't cater to anyone.
And that's
so
amazing.
I thought it was a good way of doing it. But I mean, there was a moment where we were about 16 or 18 vendor managers.
Wow,
so it's
that's
not
amazing.
your usual because it's a huge company, right? It's not your usual.
And I don't know if in this type of big teams, is it sustainable to do the way that we were doing? It was very time intensive.
Yes.
And you have to have a person just dedicated to looking after your vendors. We
were just vendor managers. We were not hybrids. We were just vendor managers. Yeah.
But the other part of the work is also intensive. So recruiting, checking CVs, checking if the person exists.
Yes.
Talking about scammers and all of those things.
Yes.
It's very, very intensive. So to add on this part of looking after people is a cost center, right?
Yeah,
It's not
for sure. No, it was. Well, I told you it was the only job where I stayed much longer than any other job. So I was there for 8 years, just being a vendor manager. So from beginning to end, at the end, I had another role, but because there was a change in the department. But for sure, I was a vendor manager for a whole 8 years, and that's all I did for 8 years. So I absolutely love talking about it. I love talking to people who do it, who have done it, who will do it. I'm always here for that topic.
I came across your podcast when you interviewed Carmen, and Carmen has a similar mindset. The book is a gem. And so I think there is a trend that people are starting looking after their collaborators a little bit better. And you need people that are interested in this, and people person, and have the patience and the inclination, and
it's a lot. You have to have a lot
and understanding what they do and so on, so
so it's I'm with you. I guess I have to go to Cascais one of these days to see if I meet you in person.
If you go to Lunch, let me know, because then I definitely go to that one.
So let's look into that so that we can finally meet in person. Not finally, because this is the first time we're talking, but we have been back and forth a little bit, because once I realized that you were somehow involved in this vendor management thing, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, when someone does the whole being somehow working in languages and then going into the PMing, which already means that there's a kind of a shift in mentality, and then you actually become a vendor manager or something of the sort with other terminology. For me, is like, this is the right path in my mind, right? So when people say that you fresh out of the boat are perfectly fine to being a vendor manager, for me is pretty complicated to understand. So my path was a little bit like yours. So I mean, everybody's different, of course, but I do think that because of everything that is entailed in vendor management and the related topics and people and subjects and roles and all of that having that full-blown knowledge of what it is to be on all of the sides. And I think that was one of the things that we have in common, is that we were both working in the language side and then PMing and then vendor management, and that's why probably we have kind of a similar vision on the topic. So very nice to meet you more extensively, and I hope we can meet in person very soon.
Oh yes,
Thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy, you have client meetings, you have all sorts of things, so I'll let you go.
But it's fine. Like I feel that I talked a lot. I don't know if you had specific.
Well, that's the idea.
Let's do this again.
No, I don't have specific questions. This is a conversation usually. So
amazing. Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much
very much for this work that you're doing, because it's very needed. And let's keep spreading the word.
Well, having fun and doing a little bit of something.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much, and we'll talk very soon.
Rita. It was amazing.
Bye. Thanks.
Ciao.